the city like a siren song, wailing over the rooftops the whole night long. Saw a shooting star like a diamond in the sky. Must be someone's soul passing by. These are the streets where we used to run, where your papa's from. These are the days where you become what you become. These are the streets where the story's told, the truth unfolds, darkness settles in. Oh, shine your light down on me. Lift me up so I can see. Shine your light when you're gone. Give me the strength to carry on, carry on.
I'm proud to be here representing the Firefighter Cancer Support Network. It was founded by Mike Dubron, an LA County firefighter, who started this after his battle with colon cancer. He was diagnosed at age 38. He didn't really invent anything, he just packaged it so it's available for everybody. Basically, it's firefighters helping firefighters through this battle. And I'll go into it more later, but we exist for firefighters and their immediate families who get a cancer diagnosis. So, there we go. So my name's Tim McDonald. I'm a 35-year veteran of Indianapolis Fire Department. I was diagnosed with cancer in 2000. So really I'm here. I'm not here because I'm a great firefighter. I'm not the smartest firefighter. I can get a lot of guys in Indianapolis will tell you that. I'm just here because I'm lucky. On October 19th, 2000, Dr. Richard Borrowdale put a scope in my nose, looked around, pulled it out, set it down, turned back and looked at me and said, "You have cancer." That is a life-altering sentence. So I had nasopharyngeal cancer. I didn't even know I had a nasopharyngeal. Now I can actually spell it. It was a grueling process. I was off work 8 months to the day before I went back to regular duty. I called in sick on October 24th, and I went back to work on June 24th of 2001. So it's not a death sentence, but it's not an easy process. So today I'm here, I'm going to give you some food for thought on what we do and how we do it and why some of it has to change. Cancer awareness. There's ways to actually decrease your risk in what we do, and then at the end I'll go through exactly what the Cancer Network does to provide support if somebody does get that diagnosis. So the most common study you hear about is the University of Cincinnati study done by Grace LeMasters, Dr. Grace LeMasters, and it's a meta-study where they basically took 32 other articles and studies, put them all together to come up with a result that meshed everything together. They found an increase in 10 out of the 20 cancers that they were studying within firefighters. Firefighters are twice as likely to develop testicular cancer. There's also that higher risk of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, multiple myeloma, and prostate cancer. These are the increases. Myeloma 53% more likely, non-Hodgkin's 51, skin cancer 39, brain 32, prostate 28, stomach 22, colon cancer 21 times more likely. And this is kind of why. The things that we're exposed to in just your common house fire or a structure fire or actually a car fire, dumpster fire. One of the worst things we do is a garage fire because of all the things that are stored in that garage. None of it good. That's why you keep it in the garage. Benzene, diesel exhaust in the firehouse, chloroform, soot, styrene, formaldehyde. It's a very long list, and it's a toxic soup. These are the ways we get it. Now, for years, everybody thought it was just inhalation. That's why SCBAs became very popular. You also have ingestion. You get in that environment, you swallow. If you've had your mouth open, you swallow. You don't have to actually take the stuff in. Your saliva is carrying it for you. And then absorption. Absorption is becoming more and more of the main pathway in. Skin absorption rate for the different parts of your body, and this is based on the bottom of your foot, is a 1. That's where your skin is the thickest. And then it goes from there up. So that means your forearm is 7 times more absorbative than the bottom of your foot. And it goes right on up. Now, it says there at the bottom, these rates increase with temperature. What that means is for every 5 degrees your skin temperature increases, the absorption rate goes up 400%. Well, on a fire, we get kind of hot. So that absorption rate goes up even higher. And if you think about all the things that were listed before, prostate, testicular cancer, the cancer that I had, nasopharyngeal, they had throat cancer on there, where's your hood go? Right around your neck. So this is becoming more and more of an issue. I was at a conference recently where a manufacturer said, for years we've been trying to make your gear more breathable because we thought that was the way to go. Looks like we were going the wrong way. And I think maybe they were. NIOSH started a study. It's in the 2nd year of the study right now. And they're doing firefighters from San Francisco, Chicago, and Philadelphia from 1950 to 2009. It's a pretty detailed study. It was done at the request of the International Association of Fire Chiefs, the IAFF, and the National League of Cities to find out if there truly is a problem. A few years ago, the National League of Cities put out a study that said there was no relationship. The IAFF immediately shot that down. They're worried about the liability that goes with it, I think. But they've come around and they realize there is, but they wanted the actual proof. So NIOSH is doing this study for them. They released the preliminary results in Denver at the IAFF Redmond Health and Safety Symposium, and it kind of backs up what the previous studies have said. So career firefighters employed for at least one day in fire departments serving San Francisco, Chicago, Philadelphia from 1950 to 2009. There was no length of service prerequisite for this in case somebody contracted cancer before they hit that certain mark. They'd want to make sure they included them. So everybody's in. And this is what they came up with. All of them, it's 29,993 firefighters over that period of time. And then there's the breakdown by department and race and male, female. And here we have the higher rates of several types of cancer, all cancers combined versus the U.S. population as a whole. Because of the new larger study, population followed a longer period of time, the results strengthen the scientific evidence. And the other thing that's going to come out of this is we're now at the point where we have an actual generation of female firefighters to study, to see the results of firefighting on them. And San Francisco is actually doing their own study. I believe they have the largest percentage of females for the longest period of time. And they're already finding a lot of cancer incidents with female firefighters. So, excess cancers. I wish they were all excess and we didn't need them, but it's a scientific term. Esophagus, intestine, lung, kidney, oral cavity. Oral cavity would include mine, anything in this area. And then mesothelioma, which I'm sure everybody knows is asbestos. Asbestos is everywhere. Before it was banned as a construction component. It was in every house before, I think, late 70s, early 80s. Think about the buildings, the houses that we fight fires in, especially the abandoned ones. When were they built? It's full of asbestos. So we're exposed when these things happen, get those fires. Other cancers, breast, bladder, prostate. I'm not sure about that one. Brain, leukemia, multiple myeloma. These rates are the observations, the more people have died from them. The incidence percentage is what you do compared to the general population. Those are the numbers that the scientists hang their hats on to say, yep, this is more common than it should be. So what can we do to prevent? How to prevent a cancer diagnosis? Because, I mean, everybody gets cancer. They say that if you live long enough, you're going to get some form of cancer. There's one form of prostate cancer that they say if a man lives long enough, he will at least get that form of prostate cancer. Simplest is wash your hands. Now, everybody was taught to wash your hands after you go to the bathroom. I'm going to tell you what, especially if you're at the firehouse, wash your hands before and after. Especially anytime you've been in contact with, even with your gear. The contaminants are there. After a fire, take a thorough shower. Wash your hair. Wash your hair 2 or 3 times. If you think back to the good old days when everybody wanted to show how tough they were by how dirty they were, how dirty your gear was before SCBAs, you'd take a shower 2 days later and you'd still be blowing that black stuff out of your nose, and when you washed your hair, it'd smell like smoke. That's your body getting rid of those toxins that were in your body. Baby wipes. Studies are showing that if you carry baby wipes on the rig or with the battalion or somebody, if you just do a quick decon of your exposed skin, your face, your neck, this area, go ahead and do your hands, because how good are your gloves? Anything exposed, wipe it down right away. The quicker you get this stuff off of you, the less likely it is to be pulled into your pores. So something as simple as baby wipes will go a long way to help the contamination. Gross decon on the scene. Now, there was just some little talk down in Indianapolis. One of the manufacturers recommended that gross decon is simply get a reducer for your engine that you can put a garden hose on. Spray everybody down. Use a simple non-chemical cleaner, something like Simple Green, and a soft bristle brush. Spray them down with Simple Green, kind of rub it through, and rinse them off again. And then obviously when you go back to firehouse, depending on what you're in, I mean, just hang it then if you think that's clean enough, if you weren't exposed to a lot of smoke. But remember, not all the smoke that's bad for you is really visible. Some of the off-gassing stuff is just as bad. But still, depending on what your availability is for a gear washer, that might be the best you've got. That's what you should use. Wash your gear. If you have gear washers, this is the thing to think about. And we learned, I was at a station, they built us a new station, and they put a gear washer in, which we thought was great, surprisingly. A lot, even the old guys thought, hey, this is pretty good. They also put a dryer in. Don't dry your gear, hang it. I can't tell you how many of us burnt the reflective stripes off our gear. The department wasn't very happy with that. Okay, wash your helmet and your liner. And I kind of touched on this before. The old badge of honor of the dirtier gear, the tougher you are as a firefighter, those days are long gone. The badge of honor is the one you pin on your shirt when you put the uniform on, when you raise your hand and swear to be a firefighter. You don't need your gear dirty. Clean your helmet, and especially clean the liner. I know of a small department, 70-person department in Colorado, they had 2 people come down in a very short period of time with basal cell carcinoma right there on their head, right where when you fold your helmet liner up underneath, right where that hits. Your helmet liner's absorbing all that stuff just like your gear does. Now, a helmet like this, you can pop the liner out and you can wash it. If you're one of those people who spend all that money to get a nice leather helmet, those liners don't come out. So I would recommend the non-chemical cleaner like Simple Green and cleaning it as often as you can. Anytime you're exposed, but remember, it probably sits in the apparatus room with the exhaust. So it wouldn't hurt to just do it every once in a while. Now, most departments now have rules about turnout gear in living quarters. Did anybody watch Rescue Me? Most firefighters watched at least a little bit of it. It used to drive me nuts that they'd walk around the kitchen with their bunker pants on. And then now a younger generation of people are coming in that they saw that show and they think that's part of firefighting. No, it's not a costume. It's not a costume party. It's reality, and the stuff is serious. The stuff that you get into will kill you. It's not play acting. So leave it out where it belongs. This is going to be a coming thing with building firehouses. You need to have a designated area for your gear. Most firehouses, it's along the wall. Some of them have a room off to the side, but it's wide open. So the diesel exhaust is going to get on your gear, one way or the other. Also, your gear hangs there, and if it hasn't been cleaned after a fire, it's off-gassing. So when you're walking through that area, you're getting exposed. The stuff that you take in when you go into a toxic environment, and it is a toxic environment, and real quick I can tell you there's a video on, it's a documentary on HBO called Toxic Hot Seat, and it's on demand for the rest of this year. And if you have any questions about what the smoke is and why it's hurting you, it explains an awful lot. But basically I can sum it up in that when you go to that structure fire, you crawl into that building, the only natural thing in there is, in all probability, you. Everything is either synthetic or treated. Even wood now, if you find an old antique that's all wood, it's been treated the outside. It's got veneers and varnish and everything else on it that aren't good. And they do funny things when they burn, and they give off all kinds of nasty chemicals. Transporting your gear. You work an overtime shift at a different station. You are a probationary firefighter and you move from place to place. You're a volunteer and you keep your gear with you. If you have to put it in your personal vehicle, put it in a sealed container. Whether it's a tote that seals with the latches, you'll notice that has. You can buy gear bags that are non-permeable, that have good zippers. A dive bag would be good. Just don't store wet gear in it. You got to remember to take it out when you get where you're going. But just like I said before, your gear off gases. So you're just filling up your personal vehicle with all that contaminant that you're going to put your family in. You don't want that. Diesel exhaust systems. Now this shows a hose system that takes care of the exhaust. Another popular thing right now is the air scrubbers that they put into the firehouse that treats the air. I believe Columbus, Indiana has some type of vent system that when the doors go up, basically fans go and they pull everything out. I'm not sure exactly how that works in the summertime when you leave the doors up, but somehow there's a trigger in there that it exchanges all of the air. Somehow, something to get that diesel out of there. Because I'm just not a big fan of no smokes. I know they work real good at first, but they have to be maintained, the filters have to be changed, and not everything bad coming out of that engine can be seen by the naked eye. So something that will move the air either that way or pull it out of the firehouse itself is something you need to consider. Just like going back real quick to the gear storage, when you build a new firehouse, it needs to have a separate room that is sealed, and it needs to have its own ventilation system to handle all the off-gassing. It needs to be completely and protect it from the diesel exhaust. but also to protect you from the stuff that off-gasses. So, if you're familiar with Paul Combs, he's the Firefighter's cartoonist. I mean, this really pretty much says it all. You guys do realize that smoke is just as dangerous as the fire, right? Maybe more so. Because who's going to crawl into actual fire? But we'll crawl right into that smoke and walk around. Back in the good old days, we used to stand around in it and smoke cigarettes. How silly was that? And yes, I did that. I can remember a story where we were all in the basement of this bar, been on fire, and nobody could find a dry match. So I was the probie. They sent me out to the chief's buggy where I lit my cigarette with the cigarette lighter, and then I came back in and lit everybody else's cigarettes, and we all stood down in the basement with all the smoke around us and smoked our cigarettes. Oh, that tasted so good. We were so dumb. Okay. You look at it, it's only a car fire. What's in a car? I mean, the upholstery, it's not natural. The material on the floor, it's not natural. The car is mostly plastic. None of it's natural. Let alone the oil and the grease and everything else. Gas, if it's going, the tires, none of that stuff is good. You need to have your mask on. Even though you're technically out in the open, you're not. Wind shifts and it all blows right in your face. You don't want that. And there again, wind shifts and your gear is now contaminated. Time to clean your gear as well. Here is a car fire. These are the things that are in the car fire. Start up, knock down, and overhaul. Benzene, toluene, styrene. I didn't do well in chemistry in high school, so I'll mispronounce some of these, but you get the idea. It's not good. Trash fires. Okay. Who here has x-ray eyes? Nobody. So without my glasses, I have trouble seeing a line. There's no way I can see that through that trash bag to know what's inside there. It could be a biohazard. It could be the stuff out of their garage that they've used up all their insecticide and they threw the bottles and cans of the insecticide in a bag and put it in there. Just that stuff alone you wouldn't want to be breathing, let alone when it's on fire. And if it flashes, something in there comes right up in your face, an aerosol can explodes, why wouldn't you want your RCBA on? Okay. I'm sure that we've all experienced this. I remember many years ago in IFD, somebody got in trouble because it got back to the training academy when the new recruit class came out. And the kid went to the firehouse and they said, "Okay, kid, now we're going to show you how it's really done." No, I mean, training academies give you a pretty good base, and then you're always learning. If you think you know it all, you're wrong. We thought it was okay to not wear CBAs. We thought it was okay to smoke a cigarette in the basement of that bar fire. So the way we've always done it has to change. And as any veteran, the young people are going to look to you, so you need to think about it. It's not just you, it's a whole generation that you're going to influence. And in the fire service, we have a culture of tradition and toughness. Everybody agree with that? Okay, well right now it seems like our tradition is becoming cancer. And I'm going to tell you right now, cancer is tougher than you. I don't care how tough or a firefighter you are, how tough a person you think you are, cancer will humble you very quickly. Protect yourself from the sun. No, that really doesn't affect us. Oh wait, we might go out and do training. You might go on a detail for a long period of time where you're outside. Sunscreen. If you can get your department to come up with wellness exams, it goes a long way. You don't want to be hey, I finally got that cancer screening policy. That guy doesn't really appreciate it. But thanks for the effort. However, evidence is there. There's more and more of it to use to get your department to come up with some type of wellness program, the screening, because in the long run, it's going to end up costing them more money. Okay, now I dropped this little hint earlier. Yes, I used to smoke. And I'll back up here real quick. Nasopharyngeal cancer. You have nasopharyngeal cancer. How did I get this? There are 3 recognized causes for nasopharyngeal cancer. Smoking. Yes, I used to smoke. Drinking. I'll cover 1 and 2. I went to a Catholic high school. I started smoking and drinking when I was 17. I never was a heavy drinker, but I was a steady drinker. And of all things, the virus that causes mononucleosis. And when they did the blood work for my chemo, at some point in my life, I had mono. So I had the hat trick. And my next question was, well, Doc, what about my job? Oh, we can't say. There aren't any studies. There's more and more studies that are showing it. However, back to smoking. Don't. I mean, I know it's a very hard habit to break. I quit several times. I quit once. I tried repeatedly. It's not easy, but quit. And it's not just smoking. Don't use tobacco. In Indiana, there is a presumptive clause. However, part of that presumptive clause is that you cannot have used tobacco products. And say smoking, you cannot have used tobacco products for 5 years previous. The presumptive clause goes out 5 years past separation. So if you were to get a cancer diagnosis within 5 years after you retire, you can still file for the presumptive coverage. However, so don't think, I can't wait till I quit smoking or quit the fire department so I can start smoking cigars again. No. It's not healthy. And I think everybody should know it. So don't start, but if you have, find a way to quit. Exposure forms. If your department has some type of exposure form, even if it's just a simple one, if nothing else, you might want to make your own one up and keep a journal of every time you go on any kind of fire. Note the contents. Note it was a car fire. The tires were they were burning. The interior was burning. Whatever. If it's a structure fire, if it's an office building with office supplies, you might want to note that. If it was a garage fire, you might want to just note it was your typical garage with a variety of household chemicals and garden chemicals. Anything to keep that record of it so that later on you can sit there and say, yeah, this is where it came from. A common thought now is that everybody's different and everybody's affected differently, but you hit that exposure repeatedly to where you trigger something, and that causes the cancer cells to start forming. So who knows when that will be. And it could be different for everybody, but somehow that's what seems to transpire. Exercise. I know you can't tell now, but once upon a time, like when I got cancer, I was 46 years old, and I was probably in the best shape of my life. I had gone on, I'd followed the advice of Jim Knoll and started doing an exercise program and watching what I ate. I lost 60 pounds in 3 months and kept it off for a year. I was in great shape. And it truly helped get through the rigors of the treatment. Because, I mean, I'm sure you've heard the statement that cancer is bad, but the treatment is worse. Everything they do to you and for the treatment is poison. It's a controlled poison. They get it so it only attacks the certain cells. But radiation is not good for you. The chemicals they use for chemotherapy aren't good for you. They're worse for cancer, and that's the only plus to it. Nutrition. Watch what you eat. I mean, we've all seen the commercials on TV and the infomercials and Dr. Oz and foods that are high in antioxidants. Is that all you eat? No, but that should definitely be part of your diet on a regular basis, because every little bit helps. Okay. So you did all you could, but you still get it. Now what do you do? What do we do as a Firefighter Cancer Support Network? As I stated, we exist for firefighters and their immediate families who receive a cancer diagnosis. When that happens, you register with us and we put you into our mentor program. We have a database that's full of cancer survivors of all different kinds of cancers. And if you request that, if you want that, we will get you in touch with a mentor that has either had the same cancer, a similar cancer, or similar treatment. They're there to talk to. Your family and your friends will be as supportive as they can be. But they don't truly understand what you're going through. They can't unless they've been through it themselves. So to be able to talk to somebody that has actually walked the walk and knows what you're going through is invaluable. Now, I can tell you real quick, we didn't have this, this organization wasn't formed when I had my cancer. But the day after my diagnosis, as I said, I was in real good shape, I went to the gym. I'm on an elliptical machine, deep in thought. All of a sudden, I look up, and next to me is an Indianapolis firefighter, former union president, who'd had throat cancer 2 years before me. Oh, man, I need to talk to you. We had a very long talk that morning, and about every he didn't have chemo, but he had radiation. So about every 2 weeks, he'd call me up and say, well, has this started? Or, you're going to start feeling this. And to just talk to somebody, he knew what was happening to me. He knew what I was going through, not only physically, he also understood what I was going through mentally, emotionally, psychologically. I mean, it meant so much to me and was so helpful, and basically that's exactly what we do. We get you that person. We get them geographically as close as possible. And we've learned that just because you've got cancer and that person had cancer doesn't mean you're going to click. And our database is getting so big now that we actually now usually recommend 2 mentors, just in case you don't click with one, or you pick the one you click the best with, just because personalities are different or whatever. Because it's about getting the person going, the patient, all the help possible. We also send out to everybody that registers what we call a toolbox. And in there is some information about cancer treatments, a lot of record-keeping stuff, because I just have to tell you, when you get that diagnosis and you wade into that treatment, they just start throwing stuff at you, and it seems like it never stops. And keeping track of all the different, I had a radiologist, I had a nutritionist, I had an oncologist, I had to see a dentist, because radiation can affect your teeth, and if you don't do proper things and go through some steps, your teeth will rot because of the radiation. I mean, there's a lot. And to just keep track of it all after the treatment starts affecting you is very difficult. So even a little notebook isn't quite enough at a certain point. So it just helps you keep track of everything. Appointments, the stuff that they give you, there's places to keep that, questions you need to ask them. You'll notice in there it has Live Strong. I know that Lance Armstrong was disgraced for taking steroids, but he didn't take steroids to beat cancer. So that part of Lance Armstrong is extremely viable for what we're doing. It's helpful. Unfortunately, I keep saying that, and unfortunately, just let me put this here, business is good, and I don't like it, but it is. Now we're getting into where it's family support, because as tough as it is on you, in a different way, it's just as tough on the family, because they're watching their loved one be debilitated by this treatment and the disease, and they don't know what to do. How do you help? You can't put a Band-Aid on it. You can't give them cough syrup. You can't. It's difficult. So we've gotten into that, and unfortunately, as I said, it's not a death sentence, but if it wasn't deadly, we wouldn't be having these talks. We also offer end-of-life support. How to deal with that. What we do not offer is financial support, legal advice, or medical advice. We are a national organization. We can't get it. We don't do financial. We don't do the medical, and the legal would come under. A lot of that would come under the different presumptive clauses, and 38 states have some form of presumptive clause. 12 don't. The ones that do, it varies what they cover and how long they'll cover you for. California is a 10-year separation. 10 years after you separate, you can get presumptive. They have different restrictions. Like I said, Indiana has that cancer clause or the tobacco clause. So we can't wade through all of that. That's something for somebody to deal with locally. But if you need support, this is how you contact us. And also, probably should have covered this sooner. Actually, we did this before this came out. Is this, the white paper that we put out last year after the Fire Department Instructors Conference in Indianapolis. Taking action against cancer in the fire service. We assembled several scientists, doctors, firefighters in Indianapolis, and we sat together and we basically took a lot of these studies and put them in firefighter language. So it's a little bit easier to understand some of this stuff. This is available on the website. You can download it, no charge. There is some good stuff in here, and included in that is the 11 steps we have of what you can do to help reduce your risks. It's on the back page. There's also some posters here that have it, and it's most of the stuff we just covered in here about use your SCBA. Actually, use your SCBA through overhaul. You go in, the fire's out, you start overhaul. You're either pulling down ceilings, pulling down walls, stirring stuff up on the floor. You're putting all that bad stuff back up in the atmosphere, particulates as well as the aromatics. And you'll be breathing it if you don't wear your SCBA. Do the gross decon. Use wet naps, wet wipes. Change your clothes. And I didn't mention that before, that change your clothes after a fire and wash them right away. Don't leave them laying in front of your locker. If you're a volunteer, don't go home and just throw them down. Don't throw them in with the rest of the family laundry. Wash them and wash them right away. Wouldn't hurt to wash them twice. Sometimes I go a little overboard, but why not? Shower thoroughly after a fire. Clean your PPE. Don't take contaminated clothes home unless you're doing it in a sealed container, and then you have some place where you can store them. Decon the fire apparatus. If you go on a fire, even if you scrub everything off with the hose and simple green or whatever, and you get back in it, you still got stuff on you. And now all you've done is you've contaminated the cab of the apparatus. And another thing, when you're doing the gross decon with whatever cleaner you want to use, the harness for your SCBA. Make sure you do that too. Keep your bunker gear out of the living quarters. Stop using tobacco and use sunscreen. These are all in the back on the inside, or the inside of the back page. We are a 501c3, so national organization put this together, so don't forget us if you want to make a donation. Okay. Cancer does not discriminate. Don't care who you are, the man or woman, black, white, nationality doesn't matter, religion doesn't matter, except if you're a firefighter, you're more likely to get it than not. You're more likely than the general population to get certain cancers. So it doesn't discriminate, but it seems to favor us. So the choices you make in this career will have an impact on you and your family in the future. Smoke can kill you right now. Smoke inhalation. Fire can kill you. Collapse can kill you right there on the fire. You can be exposed to something in that fire that isn't going to kill you for 5 or 10 years. And there's an old Irish saying that yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, today is a gift. That's why we call it the present. Well, the mystery of tomorrow got all kinds of really good stuff. And do you really want to give those tomorrows up? Now, younger firefighters, a former safety chief in Indianapolis told me that they'd done a study that firefighters have a similar makeup as fighter pilots. We're fixers. When a fighter jet crashes, that pilot is not stuck up against the canopy screaming like a baby. He's at the controls, he's working it because he's going to fix that before it crashes. What do? Something goes wrong out there, they call the fire department, and we show up and we fix it. So you're inside and the chief decides to go defensive and he orders everybody out. And I don't care where you are in this country, something similar to this is said. Give me 5 more minutes and I've got this. I can fix this. You got tunnel vision, you're looking at what's right in front of you. You don't realize that the whole building is going around you, but I can fix this. That's what we do. We fix things. No, we don't. You don't want to give up those tomorrows because you're tough now and you're bulletproof and nothing's going to hurt you. Tomorrow could, and tomorrow's full of all kinds of wonderful things. Cute family. That is my daughter-in-law and my 3 grandsons, all of whom I met after I had cancer. I would not have known any of them, and they wouldn't have known me. So there's all kinds of wonderful things that you don't want to give up. Tomorrow's got too much in it to risk. So, there. No, you know what? Yeah, it was that. I just like looking at them. I guess they live in California. I'm not going to see them that often.
Some nights I stay up, cashing in my bad luck. Some nights I call it a draw. Some nights I wish that my lips could build a castle. Some nights I wish they just fall off. But I still wake up, I still see your ghost. But Lord, I'm still not sure what I stand for. What do I stand for? What do I stand for? Most nights I don't know anymore. Stops my bones from wandering. So why am I? Who am I? Well, some nights I wish that this all would end, 'cause I could use some friends for a change. And some nights I'm scared you'll forget me again. Or some nights I always win. For this, I miss my mom and dad for this. No, when I see stars, that's all they are. When I hear songs, they sound like this one's so come on. Well, those you got daddy's on, got me to sit in a board again. 10 years of this, I'm not sure if anybody understands. This one is not for the sister and the calm that she called off. And then I look into my nephew's eyes. Man, you wouldn't believe the most amazing things they can come from. Some terrible